Have you ever been asked to do something that seemed impossible? Something that tested every fiber of your being? Today, we journey back in time to witness one of the most profound stories of faith ever told. The story of Abraham and his beloved son, Isaac. Our story begins in the land of Canaan, where an old man named Abraham lived with his wife, Sarah. For years, they had longed for a child, a promise from God that seemed to take forever to arrive. Imagine their joy when, in their old age, Sarah gave birth to a son. They named him Isaac, which means he laughs, because his birth brought so much laughter and happiness into their lives. Abraham loved Isaac more than words can say. He was the son of promise, the heir to everything God had pledged to Abraham's family. He watched Isaac grow from a baby into a strong, curious boy. They would spend hours together, with Abraham teaching him about the stars in the sky and the God who created them. Isaac was the light of his father's life, the living proof of God's faithfulness. But one day, everything changed. God spoke to Abraham. The voice was familiar, the same voice that had guided him from his homeland and promised him descendants as numerous as the stars. But this Chimi, the command was heart-stopping. "Take your son," God said, "your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Can you imagine Abraham's shock? His heart must have shattered into a million pieces. Sacrifice Isaac, his son, the child of the promise. It made no sense. It felt cruel, impossible. How could the God of life and blessing ask for such a thing? Doubt and fear must have washed over him like a tidal wave. Every instinct as a father screamed no. Yet something deeper stirred within Abraham through all the years, through every trial and every blessing. He had learned to trust God. Even when he couldn't understand God's ways, he knew God was good and his promises were true. His faith, forged over a lifetime of walking with God, was about to face its ultimate test. So, early the next morning, while the world was still cloaked in darkness, Abraham rose. He didn't hesitate. He split the wood for the offering, saddled his donkey, and called his 2 servants. And then he woke his son, Isaac. With a heavy heart but a determined spirit, they set off on a journey that would change them forever. For 3 days, they traveled in silence. What must have been going through Abraham's mind? Each step must have been an agony. Each glance at his unknowing son, a fresh wave of pain. The servants saw his somber face but dared not ask questions. Isaac, full of youthful energy, probably chattered on, pointing out sights along the way, completely unaware of the terrible purpose of their journey. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the mountain in the distance. This was the place. He turned to his servants and said, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Notice his words? We will come back. Even in this darkest moment, a flicker of hope, a sliver of faith, remained. Did he believe God would provide a way out? Or that God could even raise Isaac from the dead? We don't know for sure, but his faith held firm. Abraham placed the wood for the offering on Isaac's shoulders, a heavy burden for the young boy to carry up the mountain. Abraham himself carried the fire and the knife. As they walked up the slope together, just the 2 of them, Isaac finally broke the silence. His question was innocent, yet it pierced his father's heart like a sword. "Father," he asked. "Yes, my son," Abraham replied, his voice surely trembling. "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" He was old enough to understand the rituals of worship. He knew a piece was missing. Abraham took a deep breath, looked at his precious son, and spoke the most faith-filled words of his life. "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And so they continued on together. Finally, they reached the place God had shown him. With methodical, heartbreaking movements, Abraham built an altar of stones. He carefully arranged the wood on top of it. The moment he could no longer postpone had arrived. He turned to Isaac, and perhaps with tears streaming down his face, he explained what God had commanded. We don't know what Isaac said or did, but the scriptures tell us he allowed his father to bind him. What trust the son must have had in his father and in his father's God. Abraham gently laid his bound son upon the wood on the altar. The world seemed to stop. The sky held its breath. This was it. The ultimate act of obedience. The ultimate surrender. He reached out his hand and took the knife, raising it high to carry out the unthinkable command. In that very instant, a voice boomed from the heavens, "Abraham, Abraham." It was the angel of the Lord. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," the angel said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham's arm fell to his side, the knife clattering to the ground. Relief, so powerful it must have buckled his knees, flooded his soul. He rushed to untie Isaac, hugging him tighter than ever before. He had been willing to give up everything, and in that moment of complete surrender, everything was given back to him. Just then, Abraham looked up and saw it. Caught in a nearby thicket by its horns was a ram. God had indeed provided. He had provided the lamb for the sacrifice, just as Abraham had told Isaac. Abraham joyfully took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham named that place Yahweh-Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. And to this day, it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." The angel of the Lord called out to Abraham a second time, reaffirming God's incredible promise. "Because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." Abraham and Isaac walked back down the mountain, their lives forever changed. Their journey was not just a physical one to a mountain, but a spiritual journey into the very heart of faith. It was a story that would be told for thousands of years as the ultimate example of trust and obedience. It teaches us that true faith isn't about understanding everything. It's about trusting God even when we can't see the way forward. It's about believing that He is good, that He is faithful, and that He will always provide. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of faith. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more animated Bible stories that bring these timeless lessons to life. We'll see you next time.